What's it like to have a great year of hunting? Well, we're about to talk to a guy who just had that experience. It's Brandon Maddox of Silencer Central here on Gun Talk Hunt.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome in Gun Talk Hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and today we're going to get a brief overview, and I'm not going to lie, we're talking with a guy who has had probably one of the best years, maybe on record, I don't know, but he has been all over killing stuff. Brandon Maddox of Silencer Central, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Man, I'm so jealous. It's really cool when you get to see your friends really succeed, and I do consider Brandon a friend, and man, just an absolute great guy. But this episode is brought to you by EOTECH, Rossi, Ruger, Timney triggers, and Range Ready. All right, let's jump in. Brandon, Silencer Central, just give us a brief 1,000-yard view of Silencer Central, because I know like our viewers are kind of chomping at the bit for some hunting content, especially right now. Turkey season's ending in most parts of the country. So Silencer Central, what, where, when, why, how?
Yeah, good question. So Silencer Central is licensed obviously in all 42 states. Mm-hmm. So customers buy Silencer directly from us. We become your dealer and we manage all the paperwork for the customer, and then we mail it right to their front door. Most people are hearing that super quick turnarounds. ATF is telling us 71% of the background checks they do are approved same day. So we're able to move things through very quickly. Yeah, which is unique. I see online people calling it the golden age of approvals, and it encourages people to buy more, just to get an approval quickly. Then you want another one, and then you want another one. So
that's where the like conspiracy theorist in me comes alive, and it's like, what are they up to? Like, yeah. Why couldn't this always be the case? Because I'm still waiting on a couple. And Chris Sereno in our office, we ordered him at the same time, and I kid you not, he got his less than a month.
Oh yeah,
it's nuts. And people are getting them in 48 hours. I mean, we're hearing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so now's the time to actually go buy silencercentral.com. Go check them out for sure. But what's the quickest you've heard?
The ATF told me they typically submit them in batches for a whole day. So like if they get all the stuff submitted they get on a Monday, they would submit, and then typically they would hear back on a Tuesday. So like about 24 hours.
Good gosh. Yeah. I mean, there is no reason not to buy right now, and I know there's guys out there going, well, I've been waiting 6 months. Why is mine delaying? I think that's just, you're in that group. It's kind of like me. And my buddy, like he's been waiting on one for 7 months or something like that.
Yeah.
The stuff that comes in the door fresh, I think they're getting out, and there's like two guys working in the background on the old ones going, can we move up the ones that are in the front? Cause people like us up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happens is like, if they have to manually review it at all for whatever reason, then that's what takes longer. So it's typically like if there's a felon in your state with a similar name, similar date of birth, or
Kevin Jarnagin. Yeah. You know who you are. I know you. You're out there. You're in prison somewhere. You ruin it for all the other Kevins. Absolutely. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like there is a Kevin Jarnagin out there that is a ne'er-do-well. It's not this one.
Yeah.
But
they do say 29% of the approvals that go through, they have to manually review because something like you're saying.
Really? 29%.
Yeah.
So see, it's not just you, it's the other you that's getting you in trouble. So what's the hot seller right now?
We're mostly focused on the hunting market. So I would say that banished backcountry, just that 5.5 inches long. It's
still my favorite.
Yeah. It's stupid light. I mean, that's for hunting. That is definitely the most popular right now.
Well, I say that's my favorite. But you brought in one today that's a new favorite.
Yeah.
Like the Speed K, which is a new can, but you brought in an even newer one.
Yeah, the full titanium version. So yeah, like 8.6 ounces. It's like crazy light, super light.
And it's short. You guys nicknamed it the 2x4.
Yeah, that's what internal name
2
was.
2 inches wide, 4 inches long. I mean, and it's incredibly efficient. is what I like about it. But yeah, the lighter version is absolutely amazing. But you're not going to be disappointed if you've already got a Speed K on order and you haven't, I guess, gotten it yet. Don't fret. You're going to be very happy with what you bought. Like, I think that's the most important thing because it's just as efficient.
Oh, yeah.
Just as good.
Totally.
All right. So let's start in Canada. And this is a hunt. This is on my top 5, a wolf hunt.
Yes.
And you had a little bit better luck than most.
Yeah, I almost felt guilty, which sounds
You should feel guilty, Brandon. You absolutely should feel guilty because like this type of luck happens to, I guess, you and my youngest son. Like, oh, I was in the stand for like 5 minutes and a buck walked out and it was the exact one I wanted. That doesn't happen to everybody. Yeah. Like, come on. You're killing me here. All right, walk us through, like, I mean, if you don't know the outfitter, but walk us through how this all came about and why wolf.
Yeah. So, you know, I know the CEO at Federal Premium Ammunition. He sent me some pictures where he shot some wolves at this place. It's called Crawford Camp. It's
okay.
It's like, and I live in South Dakota, so you just kind of go straight up into Minnesota. It's kind of right over the border there.
Really?
And it's basically a fishing camp, but he showed me the wolves, and I'm like, I gotta go. So I called and got on their list, and the downside is you can't use suppressors. So at first I was like, okay, that's not great. Didn't like that, but they basically, I was the first group for 2024 that went through.
Okay.
And they were baiting them. And I think they had like 6 locations. They actually drill a hole in the ice and they put the meat in there.
Okay.
And then they let it freeze up. And then if there's a lot of food for the animals and they don't need it, they just come by to check to make sure it's still there. It's almost like
really?
Yeah, it's almost like their reserve food pile.
It's like their cache. Like
Yeah,
okay.
totally.
So throughout the fall, they're stockpiling, moose and
Roadkill and
elk and whatever they can get their hands on.
Totally. And it sounds weird, but I probably spent like 3 or 4 months just buying stuff, like not knowing. I mean, I know I live in South Dakota, so people assume I live in an igloo already, but I mean, it's like
you
just,
don't?
Exactly. Just thinking about like the different layers, and there's so many different choices for outdoor gear.
Yeah.
And, do you go with wool, not wool, so I literally spent, I don't know, maybe 6 months, like just buying stuff. Yeah. Just like trying to make sure you have everything. And then I drove up there so I could, bring too much. And
because on a trip like that, for sure, you'd want to have too much stuff.
I got a buddy who's very well resourced himself financially. So he's the one that can tell me, hey, this doesn't work, you can have it, or hey, this worked well. Or
wait, I don't want that. Like I don't want the stuff that doesn't work.
But what's great is he can give me good insight. I'm like, all right, what are the best shoes? What are the best, what
jackets? Boots did you go with?
Well, I can't even remember the name of them. They were out of Italy or whatever. They almost had like a thing.
Like a crispy or
it was almost like a turn thing on it to turn to tighten. It had like a wire through
the
hole.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. I should take
like some a Zamberlin.
That's it. That was
okay,
it. Totally it. Yeah, they were great.
I have some of those.
They're perfect.
And I absolutely love them.
Oh, they're perfect.
So the Italian boots. One thing that I noticed, did you size up?
Yeah,
a whole size for more socks. Yeah. What socks did you go with?
Boy, whatever my assistant found on Amazon, it was like the wool liner. So it was, I mean, it's funny because they told us don't use the heater unless you absolutely have to, because we had the little portable heaters in there with the propane tanks. So they're like, we're just afraid it could permeate more smell out there, and the wolves are super sensitive.
Oh yeah.
So we intentionally didn't use it. Didn't use the heater. I didn't.
You didn't have enough time to turn it on.
It's true. It's true.
Come on.
That's true.
That heater would have been fired up because you're talking like negative 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Like that's no joke. And so
serious.
Did you go out in what time did all this take place? I mean, is there a certain time, or does they drop you off in the dead of night and go, we'll see you back here when it's dark?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
essentially
pretty much the way it worked. So of course they're on a, they're basically on a waterway there. So we use snowmobiles to get out across the water, and they obviously put you in the blind before light, and then they would add some more bait to it, some fresh bait.
Okay.
And then, it was hard because at first I'm like, okay, like where's the actual bait pile? Because it was still dark.
Oh yeah.
And I want to make sure I could see it. But then I was probably 45 minutes before light. Just kind of sit there and wait, and literally.
Were you by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that was eerie because there's a difference when you're hunting a deer or a whitetail or, name your biped. But when you're hunting something that's predatory and that is on the top of the food chain, man, there's a different feeling when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm hunting bear, like that, there's just a different feel to the hunt.
Yeah, I would agree because I'd done a lot of deer last year, and I'd always had somebody typically with me.
Oh yeah,
because they want to make sure you don't shoot something they don't want you to shoot
with a tag in its ear, or, hanging off.
Yeah, or too small, or oh, that one's too big, or breeder, or whatever.
Right.
So. But yeah, it was different there by yourself, and you're just trying to get acclimated. Okay, you're kind of worried not to make any noise. Almost like don't breathe unless you have to. I mean, it's just sort of like this intense feeling that if you screw up, you could scare them off.
Yeah.
So, and then just as like any blind, try to make sure you have the position right. Getting your bipod set up so that you make sure you're in the right position and getting ready. But yeah, by daylight, I saw one and shot it, and
it done. That's
and then I text the guy and I'm like, hey, I read in the guides you can get two, and I said, well, he only bought one tag. I said, you better buy another one in case I see another one. And literally,
you bought it, and then it's like
another one showed up.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah, so I shot two within 20 minutes of daylight. Yeah,
no kidding.
It was great. I mean, like I said, you feel a little guilty because then you got the rest of the week where the guy I went with, my oncologist buddy, he's sitting there. He had to man it out all the way through the end. The last day he shot his. His was much bigger than mine, so I give it to him for
It was big.
Oh yeah, his was big.
Oh. Yeah. They get monsters.
Oh yeah.
I mean we're talking like 150-pound type stuff like that that stretched from 6 foot all the way down, like just holding them.
Oh yeah, no, it was fun.
Incredible.
So I could say that of all the posts I've ever put online, that got the most likes. I could tell everyone's like, "Oh, this is the bucket. Oh, this is the best.
It is.
Oh, I've done this for years." And I guess I don't think I realized that until after I posted. I was like,
I know
wow.
You don't realize how lucky you are, or if you've got a great piece of property and then you're leasing it, and then all of a sudden you lose it, and you're like, "Man, that was a good lease." You look at it and you're like, "Yeah, that was a good time." And that's how I think anybody who goes out there and they shoot a big grizz or they shoot a bighorn or anything like that. It's like, I don't know if you realize what you just did. And they're like, I just showed up 20 minutes and had it done. Wait, you shot two? That's like my uncle. So he lives up in Canada and he's always like, come up and hunt and, we'll try to get you on wolves. And he says, best time to hunt the wolves is February, end of February, when it's the coldest.
Yeah,
that's when they're really moving.
Yeah.
And he keeps inviting me, and I need to go, but I'm like, man, it's so tough to get there, because it's all the way up into British Columbia. I mean, we're maybe 2 hours from the circle, So when you start getting up that far, it's just more difficult to get up there.
And it had not honestly been that cold, at least this year, up in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota. Yeah. So I was worried that we may not see anything because it had not been that cold. Even parts of the water wasn't frozen. So we had to, sort of skim around in different areas that we've normally gone to. But yeah, we were lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like, being the first group, I would guess you'd rather be the first group in, and they've been baiting them, and so there's no pressure on them, and then all of a sudden you get in there to the stand. That's typically what it is. This first sit in a stand, typically the best time.
Yeah, that's fun.
See, my uncle, and he always talks about it, he sends me these pictures. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He shot 3 one time out of his cabin, the window, the second story cabin window. He was like, I was sitting there and I was watching and I was like, oh yeah, that's a wolf. I'll shoot it. And he, walks upstairs, got his cup of coffee, and I'm like, come on. Sets his coffee down and sitting there. And he's like, there's a couple of them. And my uncle, he is a great storyteller. He's way better than me. Because I'm going to butcher this story. And when I say it, you're not going to believe it. But he goes, yeah, and he's shooting a 300 Win Mag. That's his favorite cartridge to shoot. And I forget what bullet he was shooting, but he was like, you know what? I shot twice because I thought I missed the first time. And so he followed up with a real quick shot. And he goes, I went over there and there was 3 dead wolves. I was like, you got to be kidding me. 3, and these were big wolves. There was a beautiful black one, a gray, and and like almost white, but like he got almost all 3 phases, of
Sweet.
beautiful wolves.
Oh, wow.
Right outside his window. And he went back to drinking his coffee. But yeah, come show up.
That's
There's
amazing.
3 wolves.
That's
Good
cool.
gosh, man. Like, it's just so frustrating. So what piece of gear would you probably say helps you the most? You can't say gun or optics.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it. Let me think about that. Like, I don't think I'd ever thought about the concept of like double layer gloves. That was helpful.
Oh yeah.
You feel like you had a glove on and you put another glove over it, almost like
Yeah.
a mitt. I think.
Yeah.
So the gloves, you could keep your fingers together, and then the mitt over it. That was good. I didn't really use any of those hand warmers, but I think obviously those sometimes can
Man,
save
I
you.
would have had those everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Everywhere. I'd have had the sticky ones on every part of my body.
yeah. But I would say I bought some stuff since then too,
Yeah.
like some more wool type gears,
Okay.
almost like like full like pants. I had different layers, but I don't think I had planned it out well enough.
Right.
So I am going back again in January this year. So
Oh, you are?
oh heck yeah, I'm on
God.
a standing list. I mean,
He's like,
it's
every
not
year
that
I'm
expensive to
coming back.
go there, and so
Really?
yeah, I think
I
it was
mean-
like $1,200. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I would.
So I was like, that seems pretty cheap.
That's
to,
reasonable. That would be more than reasonable, honestly, because if you look at like travel costs and everything else, to have
Yeah, I just
something that
drove there.
close, it would
Yeah.
be easy, and you drove.
And he's
Yeah.
more into the deer, so he wants to be able to protect his deer population. So he's just trying
Oh
to get
yeah,
enough,
that's a good idea.
get enough
Yeah.
wolf hunters up there. So it's not. He's mostly a fish camp, so he's not like trying to make money. tons
Yeah.
off of it. But no, I'm definitely gonna. I think gonna go over here. It was a good hunt. I got to figure out what I'm gonna do. I probably didn't plan well enough if I'm truly there for a full week with
Yeah.
nothing to do. If I don't shoot one,
Yeah, what would you have done then?
I don't know,
mean,
because it worked out great when I'm in the thing. I was just doing work.
Yeah,
and
you
I
were
planned
working.
trips, but yeah, if I'm not, I don't know. I have to get some audiobooks or.
that would be my worst fear, is I would get too much of that stuff. So I think you went in with the right attitude of like, okay, this is what I got, and this is what, because if I start loading myself down with that, I feel like, and I always say this, like technology has made us worse hunters, because we're always too worried about, what's in our ears and everything else. And we're like, oh yeah, I'll just listen to this audiobook. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there daydreaming, and all of a sudden wolves have come and gone. And
Yeah.
because they're not like stay there or stay around
Oh,
for
totally.
like 2 hours.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like seconds. Yeah, that's what they warned me. They're
Yeah.
like, you can't not look up and you can miss them. So you got to really be
Yeah.
on the game, on your game all day.
yeah. See, I've heard the same thing, is you got to be like super dialed in and like focused, and to do that for an entire day. That's why your buddy, that's impressive that he got his
Yes.
on that last day, because by the last day you're just like, this ain't gonna happen, because they don't move you around.
No. And they recommend it. I mean, they would if you ask, and they said that was sort of a flaw that most people that try to move around end up, it doesn't
Yeah.
work. But they do have cameras, so they could say, hey, last night they came in. So there's a chance they could come back
Really?
in. Or, yeah. So they were, and these were two guides that kind of merged operations. So I
Okay.
kind of feel like they really knew what they were talking about. They sort of shared knowledge
Yeah.
it was fun.
Man, that's, well, all right. Okay. All right. Enough of wolf hunting, because we're going to get on to some more hunting here in a little bit, but I'm going to take a real quick break and let you know about a couple of great sponsors that we have. Love to thank our sponsors, EOTECH, the Voodoo X. That's the new one. That's what they're all talking about. It's a second focal plane optic. It's dedicated to the hunter. And I'm in love with this scope. It's a 2-12, so it kind of hits that like perfect in between range. It's not a 3-9. It's not a 1-10. Like, you kind of get the best of all worlds with this thing. And I'm looking at it right now, and it doesn't surprise me a bit. Out of stock. So these things are starting to fly off the shelves. Overall length, only 12.6 inches, 30 millimeter tube. Objective diameter is 40 millimeters. And it does have a power source, CR2032, to get a lit reticle on that. And I know there's some states that don't allow lit reticles. Shame on you guys. It's very handy. But yeah, this is just a good all-around hunting scope. This is something that I took on an elk hunt. Absolutely loved it. But you can find your next EOTECH at eotechinc.com. And Rossi, the R92, my favorite is the triple black, 44 mag, 16 inches. Okay, so why... There's a few reasons why you might buy a gun like this. Hunting is absolutely one. Protection is another. But in a hunting application... In a lever gun, what I'm looking for is I look for something that's handy, that is reliable, and it just feels nice. And the triple black for me, it looks the part. It's got a Picatinny rail up top, and I'm telling you, they're accurate, and they don't kick. They don't break the bank. They're just nice to have around. And if you're looking to kind of take it back to old school, I think you've got to look at something like this. And the R92 series as a whole, from Rossi, really has that. They have the if you're the triple black, like wood stock. If you want a more traditional look to it with the the blingy like satin finish or anything like that, they've got it. And for a hunting application, especially like a brush gun or a truck gun or something like that, man, the R92 is rocking. RossiUSA.com. Ruger, all right, man, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I love the American Gen 2 that they've produced. They've offered them in ranch rifles, your regular configurations, your Predator rifles. And that Predator comes in it's like 6mm, 204, 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, splatter finish stock. It's got length of pull adjustment, comb height adjustment, box magazines, pick rail on top, spiral fluted barrel, Cerakote finish on the Predator models. What else do you want? And I mean, these guns are shooting sub MOA. So I don't know where else to go with this. I'm just going to tell you, go to Ruger.com and find your next American Gen 2, because these suckers shoot. And Timney triggers. If you're looking for your next Timney trigger, I would highly recommend something easy to install, especially if you plan on doing it yourself. I mean, you could give it to your gunsmith or your buddy down the street, and they could do it for you for an upcharge of, who knows, 100, 150 bucks. But if you want to save a few bucks, these suckers are that easy to install, which I would put that more towards ammo, maybe. Like put that 100, 150 bucks towards ammo. Maybe a shooting class at rangereadystudios.com. But seriously, find your next Timney trigger at timneytriggers.com. New upgraded website, so I'm going to just say that too, because it's really cool. And rangereadystudios.com. If you don't know how to press a trigger, it's definitely a good place to start. There are a lot of schools out there. We just want you to get good training. And we would love it to be with us, but classes are getting updated all the time. So feel free to jump on to rangereadystudios.com to find your next class, because I'm telling you right now, whether it's a pistol class or it's a carbine class that we offer, or an experience class, because we offer all of those, it's going to help you become a better hunter, because I see it in my shooting. When I press that trigger, I've got to ask myself, what did I see and what did I feel? And it's something that's said around here often, because if I'm not seeing that shot, whether it's in a competition, whether it's on the range, or whether it's in a hunting application, if I don't understand what I saw, how can I make an educated guess as to which way that animal ran or how that animal reacted? I don't see that shot, see where it went. And you're going to learn little stuff like that help carry into the field. So find your next class at rangereadystudios.com. All right, welcome back. We were talking with Brandon Maddox of Silencer Central. We just got done talking about wolves. So if you just jumped in, you're going to have to go back, because this might be the luckiest guy ever who ended probably a 30-ish minute hunt and 2 wolves.
Yeah. After light came up, it's about 25 minutes.
God, that's ridiculous. And he had time. So I guess that's one thing that I was going to ask you is, the second wolf came a little bit after. Was he kind of hanging out on the fringe and then came in, or was it like, hold on a second, what just happened? And I've got a buddy over here laying down.
Yeah.
Was that kind of what it was?
Yeah, it's a good question, because, I could use a suppressor because it was Canada. So I tried to shoot from inside the blind to sort of trap the sound, like almost the blind was the mitigator, which it was louder for me, but my goal was to sort of suppress the sound. So my hope is that's what, the second one maybe didn't even hear the shot.
Okay.
I used a 257 Weatherby, so.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting. I would have guessed a completely different cartridge. Okay, so the next hunt, was it the Aoudad or the Trans-Caspian Uriel?
I did both of those in the same hunt.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
2 in 1.
Yeah.
What were those hunts like? Because that's more like West Texas, right?
Yeah, the audit was interesting. So I just had a friend who lives in town text me and say, "Hey, I just bought a jet, and we could leave." He's like, "We could take my jet Friday, like Thursday afternoon, and we'll fly direct there, and we'll hunt until we all get one. My son and you'll go." And I'm like, "God, how do you turn that down? I've been wanting.
I
to
need
do it."
new friends.
Yeah, because
I really need new friends.
that is the hard part about West Texas. Typically, even
Yeah.
if you fly in somewhere, you're still a 3 or 4 hour drive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because when I
Yeah.
went on an oryx hunt out there, it was like that. It's like you.
Oh yeah.
But no, this was perfect. So I'm like, "Yep, I'm in." Um,
Jeez.
Yes, no, it worked out really
Probably
well.
flew into Marfa or
Yes,
somewhere
you're right.
like
Marfa's
that.
exactly where we were. Yeah, we landed right there, and that's where we hunted. Yeah,
Good gosh.
yeah, it was perfect. I
That's
couldn't
ridiculous.
believe, I couldn't believe there was a landing pad right there.
Right there.
Yeah, this guy owns a lot of restaurants in town, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
cool. Yeah,
Jeez.
it's perfect.
I need either I need to be the friend or I need new friends. Like, because I do not have friends calling me and saying, "Hey, I just bought a jet. Let's go hunt somewhere." I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. When are you gonna buy a jet? Because we're friends, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it surprised me at first because I saw the invoice and they bought 4 spots and there was already 3 of them, so I thought maybe someone dropped out.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. He just,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
So was the plan to go and shoot a Uriel and a Aoudad, or was it?
It was just all dad, and we're
Okay.
fortunate they had a lot of exotics there, so you
Yeah.
could kind of pick whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
But it was interesting with the Aoudad because I was shocked how many they had there at this ranch. I mean,
Really?
gosh, thousands. It
Really?
was insane. It was like shocking.
How many? I mean, so a lot of ranches in Texas are high fence, and there are anywhere from 40-acre high fence all the way up to 10,000 acres high fence. Which,
Yeah.
when you start talking like thousands of acres high fence, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, because they can go wherever they want, and they're usually not going to go anywhere outside of that boundary anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
My understanding is they had 20,000 acres, high fence, but the
Jeez.
part with a lot of those were sort of free range just because it was such, there's so many of them. You didn't even have to have a fence or anything. They just,
Really?
and I think the benefit was it backed up to some maybe national park areas or
Yeah.
something. So they're coming off the parks. and
Okay. Yeah.
So there's just tons of them.
It's just the terrain they like.
Yeah. And they were putting alfalfa out to keep, because they said they have to
Yeah.
cull a lot of the females in the,
Really?
yeah, just because they have so many that just have taken over there. But no, it was great. I mean, the hard part was like, there's so many. It's like, how do you figure out which one you could get close
Right.
enough to see how big it was to make sure you weren't shooting something?
Because they're pretty scared little
Oh, yeah.
critters. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they have great eyesight, and
Excellent.
they see it and they go, "Nah, we're gonna go over here," because it doesn't take them long to get a long way away.
Totally. Yeah.
So what gun were you using? Cartridge, and walk us through the hunt.
yeah. So I used a 300 Win Mag for that one. And, basically the first day we're kind of scouting, like, okay,
Yeah.
if we see a monster, we'll go for it, but let's see where's the, sort of the group of the biggest ones. It's kind of cool to see the terrain out there. It's so different, just the
Oh, yeah.
mountains. And so once we finally found an area that we liked, we said, okay, let's try to identify one. And I was basically relying 100% on the guides.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, because to me, they all look the same.
They all got the curved horns and they all look good. Like, okay,
Yeah.
just point me in the direction.
Totally. It was tough for me to tell. So, and then sometimes, the group we were waiting on, we were out there for hours because they kind of laid down in the sun and they're just kind of chilling. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, gosh, we want them to get up and move around. And so finally we, dropped one. I think it was like 250 yards. So nothing,
Oh, that's not bad.
nothing too crazy. I think it was, maybe not as big as I'd wanted, but I think it was still, fairly big. So
Always ask yourself, like, is your first one a good representative? Because you're going to go back. You know, you're gonna go back. He has a jet.
yeah,
Like, not Brandon, but his friend has a jet.
yes, totally.
I mean,
Probably want to go back. Totally.
you'll want to go back. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's when you go. That's my goal on any first animal that I ever shoot. Is it a good representative of the species?
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Like,
So it was good.
and it's good.
Yeah, it worked out well. So really, like within the first, I don't know, because we got there in an afternoon,
Right.
and then we sort of scouted, and then the next day. So really, within 24 hours of getting there, all
You
of
had
us
one. All of them had one. Jeez.
Yeah,
See,
they were all
the
nice.
luck continues.
Yes, no, it was good. I mean, this was a target-rich audience. It was
Yeah.
perfect. But then, of course, to their benefit, they had all kind of, anything else,
Oh, yeah.
essentially exotics that you wanted to shoot.
That's cool. That's what's cool about hunting in Texas is because you never know what you are going to see.
Yeah.
Like really, I mean, I've driven out that way, and you're driving through, you see all these high fence, and then you see a giraffe. Like what the heck? How that?
Yeah.
Like, and then you'll like go a little ways, and you'll see like a 300-inch whitetail, and you're like, those shouldn't be in the same area, but somehow they are. So, but yeah, that's incredible. So how'd the Uriel come about?
Basically they asked me, are you interested in something else? And I'm like, yeah, okay, we're here for 2 more days. I might as well.
So pull out the menu.
Yeah, exactly.
What you got?
Yeah, let's see.
No to the giraffe. No.
Yeah, totally. And they said they had some really older ones. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's check these out. And
They're beautiful.
oh yeah, we
My
found one
gosh.
that was like, it was literally like, it was either 600 or 700 yards. I mean, we actually videotaped me shooting it through the scope.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. So
That was a great shot.
I don't want to take too much credit because my guy did a good job of saying, okay, here's how far you are.
Yeah.
Here's the ballistics of the bullet.
Okay.
So he did a good job dialing it all
Yeah.
up for me. He's like, you just got to wait for him to stop long enough to shoot him. And I hit him just square. Like
I
you
mean,
said, the video
dropped immediately.
Yeah, he just dropped.
And at 600 yards, if you're not doing that either on the regular or have someone who's walking you into it and really I'm sure you had a firm rest. I mean, that makes
Yes.
everything is your firm foundation.
On a rock. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Yeah. It worked out really well.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it was just kind of cool to have it through the scope
Yeah.
tube and have a video with on the phone. You could see it. But
Yeah.
no, that was cool. And then I don't think I realized how far that was. So we walked up the mountain to go get him.
They don't live in flat ground.
No,
Like they
gosh.
just don't.
Yeah, like 600 yards straight up that mountain. I was like, wow, I'm going to die. This is crazy.
Well, it was a great shot. I mean, that was because I remember that now that you say that is I remember because he was facing to the left.
Yep.
He was facing the left. And I remember him like, you could see it because as hunters, like you sit there and we all play this game and don't lie. If you're listening to this or you're watching this, don't lie. You play okay, I would take the shot right there. That's the point. And we all play that game because like anytime an animal walks out, you're like, okay, now's the shot.
Totally.
And that Uriel did that is because he stepped that front leg forward, which exposes all those vitals, and Brandon put it right on him. And that was cool because I was like, now. And that sure enough, you see the bullet, the vapor trail kind of going,
No,
which
it's
is cool.
perfect. Yeah.
This is just amazing. All right. I want to touch on one more before we get out of here. And it's one that I think it's on my fringe top 5 things to do on how to hunt. It's the helicopter hunting for hogs.
Yes.
Should it be in my top 5?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Man, why?
I think it's just such a unique experience. I mean, it's almost hard to articulate.
Yeah.
I think we were all sitting around. I went with like 3 other guys. They're all lobbyists that we use up in DC. Some of them were with the conservation groups, but
Okay.
we all were like, we know it's gonna be fun, but we don't know what it's gonna be like. But then after you get out, you're just
So
like,
you've never done that before?
no, none of us had. So it's
Oh my
all,
gosh.
yeah, it was almost like, it's sort of like we didn't know what to expect, but once we got done, we're like, oh my gosh, that's like the coolest experience ever. Yeah, it's just the whole helicopter thing. I mean, you're strapped in, so you don't feel like a safety
How
concern.
strapped in are you?
You got a seatbelt on.
Just a seatbelt?
That's it. And so you got a pilot here, and you got yourself and another person in front, and you got a rail where you can put your kind of foot on, and then fortunately this company uses all of our Banish 223s, so we kind
it's
of
perfect.
trade. Yeah, we trade ammunition. We basically trade silencers for
Right.
and I'd been giving them a lot of silencers over the years, and they were like, "You got to come." But no, it was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
It was great. I mean, the pilot was great. Basically, you got 3 sets of eyes, all looking for hogs, and there's a lot of. They said they have 1 million acres that they hunt on.
Okay.
They only go once every 6 months to those places, but the goal is obviously to try and find spots with a lot of hogs on them, but then not to overhunt them. But
okay, I
Yeah,
see.
so in
Because
other words-
in my mind, I'm like, eradicate all of them.
totally, yeah. But they want to make sure you have a good experience.
Right.
So basically, this was a new site they'd never done before. So the farmer shows up. It was a big, big plat of land.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 20,000 acres. So we just started flying, and then you're looking for them. As soon as you see one, and then the pilot sort of dives down where you're like right over them, and you're just
cool.
yeah, it was cool. We saw coyotes too. And of course, the farmers actually were more interested kind of in the coyotes because they kill the calves than the hogs themselves. So they were really big on shooting those.
Like shoot every one of them.
Yeah, we're using Daniel Defense 223s.
Yep.
They had a great system. You could tell they keep them well maintained, so they didn't have any problems with jamming or any issues. Hard part is we had brass catchers, and you're used to if you, at least I am. You flip your AR open, and when you want to eject, when you want to look at it, well, that's the same way, of course, where the bag is. So it would dump all the empty brass. So yeah, it was so hard to train myself that if you do get a jam,
you have to flow outward. You have to like dump outward and lean over and look. Ugh.
Yeah, when you're putting a new mag in.
Yeah,
but no, it was great. I mean, one situation that was cool is I was like, oh man, there's some hogs over there. And he goes, well, that's unfortunately on the other neighbor's land. He goes, watch this. The pilot actually gets behind them, drives them out of the water. So we have a whole family going across the water. We just turned the water red. I mean, it was bad. I mean, you see hands doing this.
But it was good. But it was good. That's the problem. Is that
huge ones?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like
hitting all of them.
Yeah.
So you got to do negative lead.
So, no. So it's right on them.
It's right on them.
Yes. So that's what I was afraid too, that you had to lead them, but no, it's right on them. Yeah.
Really?
You're so close. You're probably 30, 40 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right over them. So, they said
that close.
Oh yeah, they're like, just put it right in them. Don't. And some of them, you felt like you were leading a little bit just because they were running, but in the water they were slower. But yeah, running sometimes.
Water they were slower.
That was
Can
cool.
I put that on the shirt? In the water they're slower.
But typically the 223 you had to put a couple rounds in them to kill them.
Yeah.
Probably should have used something heavier, but I think they were just familiar with the operation of them.
Oh
It
yeah.
was probably a little cheaper for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But it's cool rolling them if you shoot them while they're running. And
oh yeah. They're done.
Yeah, you shoot the hogs.
So the video that I saw, was actually pretty thick terrain.
Yes, it was.
And so it's not like you're catching them in open fields or they're not always in water.
Right.
But like that pilot has to be dialed in.
Yeah, and he did say, "Hey, keep me up to speed if there's power lines, just in case I'm looking." Yeah. So I mean, in other words, he's looking for them, but he's like asking for a verbal. Like if you see a power line, he gets up over it really far. Yeah, you're right. So we're flying. I mean, they're also funny. Like, hey, no point in the gun up because if you hit the propeller, you're gonna crash. I mean, you could break that thing. So it's all about keeping the gun pointed down.
Oh, absolutely. Keep them pointed in a safe direction.
Oh yeah, it's tight operation.
I'm telling you, like you're telling me I've got to look for hogs, shoot at hogs, and watch power lines.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna do maybe two of those halfway decent. Like it better be looking for power lines as one of them.
Yeah, and of course this was a rural area, and it was such a big plot of land that there probably wasn't as many power lines. But he's just like, hey, I need a backup set of eyes just in case I don't. But no, we did 2 hour like increments, like you did an hour and another group went. It was interesting. They said a lot of people who come out there, it's their first time ever shooting or hunting which I found
really
odd. Yeah.
That is odd.
Yeah.
Why would they choose that?
I agree. I thought it was interesting.
Like
I did ask them, of all the groups you've had out here, who shot the most? Like who was and they said that they have a military special ops training group. That's what they do. They shoot stuff from helicopters.
Really?
And they let them bring their own stuff. So for us, they made us use
their stuff,
Spanish 223. But for these helicopter special ops people that do that, they let them use their own equipment, and they killed like 250 in an hour. The three guys. I was like, man, that's impressive.
That's some shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what they do. Like that's their practice, I guess. That's their practice. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah. No, I would definitely put that on your list to do just because it's so unique.
Yeah.
Just being in the helicopter is kind of cool, and having a gun. I mean, you feel get your man card back.
Yeah.
You're like,
Get the man card back after I drive into town with a Prius or something. Like that's incredible, man. Like, okay, I don't know what I have to bump off though. That's the problem. Like it's a fringe. So we have a guy that every year he'll call me.
Yep.
And he says, hey, we're going to run the helicopter out there. Can we get permission to, if hogs are on your, lease or your land?
Yeah.
Can we run it? And he goes, do you want a spot? And I always am like, man, it's just, I would be able to afford an hour because it's typically like, it's like $1,000 an hour almost is like roughly what it is.
Yeah.
And like, for me, it's like, is that worth it? Which, obviously it is, but I'd tell him every year, Yes, absolutely go and kill every coyote you can.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're looking for hogs, but coyotes are kind of a bonus
Yeah, yeah.
that they sneak out. Did you guys kill any coyotes?
We did.
You did.
Yeah, shot one in the water too. That's going across the
Really?
water. Yeah, totally. And
Don't go near the water.
what's interesting is the coyote, like the hog, as soon as they hear the helicopter, they take off.
Yeah.
They're afraid something's, this is Godzilla after them.
Yeah.
But the coyotes, they just kind of sit there until you shoot at them. And unless you kill
Really?
them, then they take off. Then they go crazy. So
They
yeah.
run like their fur's on fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's crazy to watch.
that's awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
man.
thanks for having me.
Like, I love to hear stories like this because it's absolutely incredible, and it gives us something to look forward to and something to kind of want to achieve.
Well, I mean, I've just been fortunate to have the opportunity where, like I said, some of these people we've traded
Oh, yeah.
suppressors for, or it's an opportunity for us to test, or maybe
Yeah.
we sponsored and then somebody has to go. So I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I would love
Well,
to have that opportunity.
Yeah, Brandon sheepishly raises his hand. I'll go.
Yeah, totally. If I'm paying
no
for it,
one's
yeah,
gonna
totally.
if no one's gonna say they want it, I'll go.
Absolutely.
Well, good for you. You should go on every single one of them, man.
Try. I love it.
And he's got another bucket list that's going to get checked off in 27.
Yes.
But we'll revisit that then. All right. You guys know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.